getting, and it's because their population is so high. That they max out.
I've got 3 o'clock. Let me know when we're good to go. The advantage of having a meeting at 3 o'clock, we don't have many. Enough of that conversation.
Don't go there.
It was just said in jest.
Of course,
You're always available.
of course.
They're ready to rock.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, everybody. This is 23 August 2023 and a regular meeting of the Waterville Valley Select Board. I am the chair, Rich Rita, and in attendance today, Vice Chair Bob Trees and Select Board Member Wendy Rathgeber. So we have a quorum. Where is my agenda? Here we go. All right, so I don't see anybody here for privilege of the floor. We will move right into approval of minutes. There's actually 4.
Somebody might be coming in the door.
No, I think
that's
that was
Dylan.
Dylan.
Oh. Hey, Dylan. Oh, how are you?
So we have 4 sets, I think, that we've all had an opportunity to review, make comments on. Anybody have any further comments? If not, I'll accept the motion to
So moved. Accept.
second.
There was, sorry. one
Sure,
of
no
the-
problem.
Do you have the minutes there? There was one set where I sent in some corrections with July. I didn't see in what we received. It had to do with the, yeah, so July 12. Line 139.
Line 12. 139.
I may have printed off the wrong copy.
I've
but
got,
You
Which
made
one
the
do you have?
changes.
As I
This is
believe
the
it,
one
it
sent.
would,
hold up for very
it
long.
would not hold up for very long,
To be a not.
right, and I don't
Steve,
know.
Steve
you have
made
that,
that change.
okay, so. this
Yeah.
was an old
Okay, so we
copy.
just got the old copy in. the
Okay.
packet.
Super.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to approve the minutes. Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now, I think we have department head reports.
Yep.
All righty, so we'll go to the water sewer end of July numbers.
Definitely see a increase in terms of wastewater. Water seemed made sense to us anyway. Irrigation was way down. We had tons of rainfall, so no real reason to irrigate. But Mark had mentioned how the lagoon numbers. So keep in mind that everything that we receive in rainfall across the lagoons is not measured on our total line.
Not measured in.
This is on top of what we received just with raw info. So from 2021, just in rainfall across the lagoon, we were up 35%. The true numbers are 1.88 million in 21 to 2.92 million in 23. So significant increase there. And from 22 to 23, up 30%. True numbers 2.06 million. Again, up to 2.92 million. So almost 1 million gallons more from 22 to 23 just in rainwater that we on top of the increase in raw flow. So definitely a big increase.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had to do anything with my,
If a lot of it,
Nothing.
if it's a higher concentration of rainwater as opposed to sewerage, does that help on the chemical side?
Not really, because keep in mind the ponds, I mean, it would, it does to some dilution factor, but keep in mind that the lagoons up there hold about 9 million gallons. So I mean, total for the entire year, we've only received 2.9 million across 7 months total at that point. So it would, but the problem is that we have to process more flow. So the flow, the amount of flow that we put out, a larger volume, so that requires more chemical. It's offset basically. If it was a lower volume, then even with a higher concentration, we would use less chemical and lower concentration but a higher volume. So yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate that we've had
Yeah, the weather that we have.
at the time
over
we
10
had it, right?
inches of
What did that cost us?
rain.
in terms of chemical?
We're over by about 25K,
Over budgeted.
over
Yeah,
budgeted.
yeah, and that
For
came
the
out of
budgeted
contingency.
To this point. in the
To
year.
this point. Fortunately, next week is the last week of breakpoint.
Yeah.
So,
On a positive note, not to jump too far ahead, but the water treatment project, the well tube building was stained today. So
Mhm.
that it looks nice, and the building was in pretty rough shape before we had the renovations done. Back in, what was that, last summer?
mhm.
And finally got the renovations back. It was last fall, I take that back. Finally had the staining done. They have one more thing they have to come back and complete. But we're wrapping that project up
Mhm.
quickly.
And we're not adding the chemicals directly there anymore, right?
No, that's correct. It's just a well building. The wells
Right.
located
Not-
directly below it, and it just transfers over to the water. treatment.
Which was part of the improvement.
Correct.
Project. And the lighting around it,
The lighting, we're waiting for the electrician to be clear. Once we have the substantial completion document signed,
right?
then we'll go in and have an electrician come in and look at the lighting.
Okay.
Just
We're,
because of the complaints we got.
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah, and we haven't received complaints, probably number one, because we told them when the project was over, we'd address it, but also because of the foliage. You know, it doesn't have as much of the
Right.
glare issue, but we will get back to it before the leaves come off the trees.
Yeah, the way it was spec'd was for it to be on. From design, for it to be on all the time with security lighting. So we'll have to have an electrician just modify it to have it somehow have a motion cell put in.
We'll either have a motion cell put in, or we will screen it.
Yeah.
So that it's more downward
Mhm. Yeah.
facing, one of the two.
Does it need to be on all the time?
Um,
Or can we go with the, I think motion
Yeah.
sensor you're talking about potentially?
probably motion, we'll take a look at, maybe, there may be some lights that we just want to shade. So that they can be on all the time.
Right, and
then
others,
Others that we can have as motion. The ones above the door can probably be motion, because when the person walks up to it.
Right.
To get in,
okay,
but there are some really dark spaces around the sides of the buildings.
right,
That we might want to light, as long as they're downward facing lights.
yeah, for both buildings, right?
We'll take a look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, the only building I think that's causing issue right now is just the well two building.
Yeah.
Because the light, there's two new ones installed, one's on the front of the building, one's on the side, and they are bright. I mean, there's no way around it. but
And they're
at the
not
same time-
shaded,
Right.
they're
If-
outward
I think we had
facing.
this issue with the new water treatment building back in the day,
Initially,
yeah,
yeah.
and we were able to,
So is the purpose of the
Satisfied.
lights to, in case there's vandalism of,
Yes.
is that,
Yeah.
is that what?
Deter it, yes. It's to
Deter
deter-
vandalism and allow our people, when they're doing, especially in the winter, they're there a lot in the dark, so. And there aren't any street lights or any other outside lights.
Okay.
see the resort was doing some trail work around there, that was the resort,
Yes,
Yes.
Right.
That was the result.
okay, just finishing, prepping, I guess,
well,
finishing for
we
the
had,
cross country,
they had let us know that rocks were coming up through the work that DPW did on the trail last year. So we had Piper, instead of trucking material out of town,
yeah, might as well use
we
it,
had
yeah.
them
Drop
dump
some
it
there,
over there, and then Megan hadn't had a chance to get there with the crew to do the trail work, so Ian said that he would handle it.
We worked it out with Ian initially. I let him know it would be a few weeks before we could get out there. And he said he was gonna work on it as best he could, and if he needed additional help, he would reach out and we would. be
Okay.
back Out there after a
That's
few weeks and
great.
help.
nice, good, public-private
Mhm.
cooperation, we like that.
Mhm.
Anything else to?
No, not
Yeah.
that not that I can think of.
Okay, now to the hard to believe end of summer camp report.
That's in the camps, yep.
Summer camp weekly registrations.
Did a
Next
good-
item.
Did a good job.
Yep. Good year. We continue to have success with that, and I think the only place where we can really grow with our camps would be in the beginning of the summer. the week in August always tend to fill up, but the weeks towards the beginning of summer, that's really the only place we have available for growth.
Across all camps, age groups?
Well, there's a little bit of room in some, the little kids, so the 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds tend to be the busiest camps. Because then
Is that
kids-
wings?
Wings and swords.
Swords.
Yeah, because once they get to Hawk, well, Hawk is also very busy, actually. Peak is more optional, kind of, if kids like it, if they know about it.
But those are more self-sufficient, older.
Yeah, they don't really
Kids.
have to have care, so it just depends on their situation. But it was very successful summer. We had an awesome staff. It was a great summer in terms of camp.
I was happy to see the CIT Summit CIT numbers stay high.
Yep.
So those are the
Yeah,
feeders for you for later
right.
staff,
So
right?
we introduced the CIT program last summer with success, so we'll definitely keep that. The Summit program is actually somewhere where we could grow too, because that's now we're getting into 13 and 14-year-olds who, some of them aren't really interested in being programmed anymore.
Right.
So. just
Some.
varies. Yeah, it just varies.
How does the CIT work? Do they pay anything or do they get paid anything?
They pay us.
They pay us.
I think it's about $50 a week. So they're essentially they're a camper, under our care, but they are sort of being introduced to what it's like to be in charge of kids and,
Mhm.
I mean, they're never with the kids themselves, but they are working under the guidance of our camp director as well as the camp counselors in that particular group. And because they're so young, they really only are fit for our younger groups, which would be the wings and sword groups. They're a little too close in age with the older kids, for them to have a separation there. But it has been really successful, and we find out either they're really interested in pursuing this and being camp counselor with us someday, or that, oh, this is not a fit, so. We find it's kind of a struggle that between the CIT years, which is 13 and 14, to the year we hire, the age we hire a camp counselor, which is 16. Kind of tough to fill in that middle piece. We try to say, hey, there's a job at the waterfront that you can work for, a year or two before you come over and be a camp counselor. And sometimes that works, but sometimes we just lose them because they can find that somewhere else.
Mhm.
So we continue to work on that challenge. This year we did offer a camp counselor position to a 15-year-old who has been in our programs. We did our CIT program, we knew very well, knew would be up for the challenge, but that's the first time we've ever done that. So yes, kind of look at it as a case by case basis.
The increase in population and presumably families, are you seeing a bigger pool in town to draw from? For counselors
Yes, it's COVID really.
still?
Yes.
Yeah.
For the staff,
Mhm.
our staff members.
Mhm.
It's always a mix. It's always a mix. We usually get a couple of PSU students. We usually get some kids that went to Waterville Elementary School. Just varies. Hopefully you get a couple returners.
I think you had expressed at the beginning or when we were going through budgeting last year, some concern about being able to draw enough people. And so I think we upped the hourly rate a little bit. Did that work out?
We
That
did.
was the year before, wasn't it?
Oh, was it the year before? It all starts to merge.
So prefer that we set a little bit this last year, also trying to kind of get to a
Be
point-
competitive, right?
Yes, absolutely. And even when you're competitive, it's still hard to find people. So we have been
Right.
truly lucky with our staffing. And our staffing wasn't 100% this summer. We did have to use a lot of our camp counseling staff and also the full-time staff to work our evening programs. We were not able to cover that. So we did have, some days where I would have preferred to have our camp director in the office there to support the camp program. She wasn't coming in until 12 because she had to work the evening programs for the ice cream social or whatever, our bingo. And so, that was not ideal, but we made it happen and just juggled it around.
So we're still in the short end of having
Definitely.
enough flexibility in the number of staff to,
Oh, yes. Yeah, we had some part-time overtime, hours more than we normally would this summer because of that. So We did have a lot of happy
Mhm.
staff this summer who are planning on coming back next year.
Good.
Plans do change, but we're
Mhm.
hopeful.
What's the hourly rate now for the camp counselors?
The starting rate is
Mm.
$12.50.
Mhm.
So other than camp, how do you assess some of the ups and downs of the, like boats and ice cream social and what was successful and what wasn't?
Yeah, well, Ice Cream Social was successful overall. However, there were 2 nights that were very rainy. Even though it's an indoor event, people do not really want to go out into it. So those 2 nights were pretty slow, but overall, we were able to make those up in other Ice Cream Socials. So it's a really popular event still. And so that was great. Bingo is also very popular and that was successful.
I think that would be on a rainy night particularly.
Yeah, I just don't.
No, people wanna stay home.
Yeah, and that was new. I really wasn't expecting that, because I was working Ice Cream Socials this summer at night, and so I got to see that firsthand,
Mhm.
that the rain really put a damper in that for people.
Even on indoor,
Yeah,
indoor
right.
events programs.
Yeah. So, and then the waterfront, it's been tough to really identify reason that the business is not, up. Or the reason it's so down, I should say. And I think one of the obvious reasons is the weather. I mean, you look across all the different venues in the valley and they're all down. And we all suffered rain. They didn't all change locations, we did, but we all had rain, so it's hard to know for sure. But I'm going with rain, honestly. I think that's the #1 reason why we had such a.
Were you overall happy with the location?
Yes, definitely. Our only issue with it is that it's not visible from town square. That's the only issue. And I think, we have signs, we have a couple of signs in town square with arrows pointing. We have that big flag sign. But I just think people need to see the boats. So once the boats are out on the pond, then people are like, oh, there are boats here. And then they might become a little bit more, interested in finding out where they do that. But as long as you can't see the boats from town square, I think it's a little bit of an impact.
May have
So
had many.
I looked at, considering extending the dock out a little further. That type of dock that we have, you can just add pieces so that you can maybe extend it so that it can be visible. Because all the colorful boats, once those are showing, I think that will get people's attention.
How much would you have to extend it, you think?
I haven't looked at it carefully, but I don't think that much.
I think one section,
Yeah,
one additional
I don't know. if it's
wharf
8 feet,
section,
maybe.
8-footer.
We would have to go look at it, but I don't think it's that much. I mean, it's just like perfectly hidden.
Would you ever consider moving back to the other side where you had been?
Well, it would be a real issue with our operations to do that, which I would invite anyone's, information on how to problem solve that, but basically all of our supplies that we take out every day are in the boat shed. And the boat shed is on that side. We don't have a boat shed that will fit our supplies on the town square side.
And with the upgrades to the gazebo, there isn't any chance to work with the resort again on that and have the gazebo space, that lower gazebo
Yeah,
space?
so the gazebo space is not an appropriate space for us to work out of because the height of it is right at your forehead on an average person, so you're ducking. So honestly, the fact that we were using the space for that long was probably not a good choice. So I'm really grateful that we have a decent place for people to work out of. So that's the first issue, but it's not big enough to hold everything.
Is the dock floating?
Yes.
So you wouldn't have to put stanchions?
No,
I think we
That comes
had,
out every-
talked about when we moved over last year, that give it a year and then do some kind of review of all the factors. So maybe at some point, once you're done, I mean, the boats are still up and running until when?
Yeah, till Columbus Day weekend.
So we'll still have a month and a half, then we can have maybe give Brooke a chance to put together, sit down and talk to us about all the different.
yeah, we can
Factors.
do that. This has not been a good year to do comparisons.
Right.
Okay,
It's kind of like
Right.
COVID year where there were so many outside factors
Right.
influencing it that I don't, we should talk about during the budget process, do we want to give it another year?
Yeah.
In its current location?
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
that
So if we
sort of
have
thing.
some,
Yep.
you
and we'll
know, a
have
report
other
ahead of
things.
time
Yep.
that we can talk
Yep.
through it and,
We'll
and
do
it-
a summary.
And just, I do think, Wendy, that a lot of people are going to ask that question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Want to know-
I've heard it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I-
already?
Yeah.
I want to be able to arm you with the information so that you're able to answer that question.
Mhm.
We cannot logistically, every single day, it would put
Carry.
another hour onto either end of the day to have to, go to that side, get the boats, bring them over to our side. All the equipment that goes into that. If we wanted to have people check in at that boat shed and then go to the rental, now we're talking about a third person on shift every day.
Right.
So there are reasons why we can't do it. It's not because we don't want to. We've really thought a lot about, how could we make that work? But logistically, it would be very challenging to,
Okay.
to run the operations because of all the equipment and all the things that live over there.
well, as I said, let's put that give you a chance to sit down and,
Right.
think
Write
think
that
through it,
out.
write it up in a report, and then we can sit and talk about it,
Sure,
and give you time to,
yeah.
analyze it. And we still have a month and a half to go. And I'm also thinking what's now going on the other side, like with the dock, seems to have gone well. I
Mhm.
mean, we're not seeing benches or chairs, I don't think. Where's Chief Payer? I don't know,
No.
being thrown into the
No,
into the pond or anything like some of the worries that we had
Yeah, I have
about
not
being
gotten
keeping that
any,
vacant.
I haven't gotten any negative. Have you
So-
seen anything? You're
I
there every
haven't,
day.
I haven't seen, I mean, I've seen some people hanging out, just,
Yep.
but
Sitting
nothing,
there, yeah,
nothing really
which is
radical.
fine, yeah.
And every
Another
once in a while, someone fishing and it's sort of like,
Yeah.
Another variable that we'll have to add just of note is that the bacterial, problems. with
that's-
the pond
Yeah,
this
yeah.
Summer,
that's the
I
only
mean, they
thing.
deter people on its own of going. on
Yeah,
the
I
boat.
think the rain, those are the two reasons in my head that pop up.
Yeah, so it just doesn't feel like a fair assessment for.
No,
this year.
But it's good to have a baseline. It's good to just have a report for this year.
Absolutely.
And the explanations on the analysis as to why this may not have been a typical year
Mhm.
with, rain upwards of what, 15, 16 inches? I mean, record rain and bacterial issues at the very beginning, on and off, right?
Yes,
Which was, I won't say new, but it certainly was
well, it's unusual.
unusual for the time of year. So, and I think we should have that all in a report somewhere,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wet weekends too.
Yeah, this was.
yeah,
In fact, right now, we are having more success with our boat operations. So it's really great that we are able to stay open 7 days a week through Labor Day this year. That's not always the case, but we have staffing to do that. And because right now it is quite lucrative. So I would hate to be missing out on these.
Beautiful days.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for a report on the dredging.
Yes, they're working on it.
They were out there yesterday, actually.
yeah. That's gonna be a big thing.
Speaking of the bacteria, we received a report from DES today, and it was 10.8 and 9 point. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, 10.9, 9.8 for the two test sites.
Right,
So
So that's okay.
that's, I mean, the limit's 88, so.
Yeah.
So
It'd
we're
be-
back down to what we normally are.
It'd be
seeing.
interesting to see a chart, and I think it'd be easy to put it together of the measurements and the
Mhm.
rainfall, just like to kind
Sure.
of drive home.
see
the
if
point
that was
for-
the
Yeah.
real,
Yeah,
or the
Yeah,
main
do
cause anyway.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else in rec you'd like to
Sure.
talk about?
So yesterday we had a really nice presidential rail trail ride, bike ride. That we had 9 people participate in, so that finally happened. We had been rained out of it a couple of times, so it was nice to see that happen. A lot of really happy folks. Like I said, we're still running waterfront 7 days a week. Looking to schedule the fertilizing and overseeding for Packard Field. They want to do it on the 1st, but that's right before our Chalk Fest, so I'll probably wait until the following week to get that done. That's a part of our maintenance that we already have scheduled.
Mhm.
Our Chalk Fest happens on September 2nd. That's at Packard Field. We'll have some inflatables and you know, some families and kids doing some chalk art. Really, it'll be fun. And a little rider rally for the little tots on their bikes. That happens on Saturday. Our after-school programs start on September 5th. So kids go back to school this coming Monday.
Mhm.
And then they get Friday off, I believe, and then Monday, of course, and then we'll be starting it up right after that.
So there's that gap that we talked about in the past,
Well,
A short
that
gap.
used to be until like September 20th.
right? But it's much,
So now, yeah, we should
Small,
have
right.
just a few days. That's it. We did schedule, at the request of a citizen, we have scheduled a bike safety class, which apparently the school has done in collaboration with public safety, so they are gonna help us out again and do it on August 31st. And that'll be from, I think, 3 to 4:30 PM at the rec department entrance. So we have 2 signed up and we're hoping for more. And that is, there's no charge for that. We have our fall foliage foot race coming up, so we're kind of getting all organized for that with the planning, the raffle items, the sponsors, there's all sorts of things that go into that. We'll be meeting with the public safety about how they support that race, and you'll get more information coming. And then we are right now looking at, I think I may have mentioned it in the past, but we're looking at smart waivers, which is a online waiver, you know, data system, so that we can kind of move to digitizing our waivers instead of having all this endless paper. So just, we keep moving forward with that. That's something that's was a part of our budget that we are trying to make sure all of our waivers are the way we want them to look before we implement. And we're just looking at the year ahead, the school year planning. We're hoping to, by mid-September, put out a list that we will include you in, that will have a list of all of our programs, special events, everything that we have to offer through June, so that everyone can have that ahead of time and kind of, I think that'll be really helpful for everyone to see all of the dates and programs that we'll be offering in the year ahead. And that's all I have.
Sounds like funny.
Yeah.
are you seeing the usual mid-late August slowdown?
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're offering this week open gym from 10 to 12 and pickleball from 1 to 3. On Monday, we had 3 players at pickleball and no one at open gym. I mean, there's just no one's coming around. Sometimes people come ask us for basketball to play outside and the courts outside, but there's very little happening.
Okay.
But lots of program tools.
Good. Yeah. We good with rec?
Yep.
Megan, what's happening in Public Works?
Well, I would like to bring up the skid steer. I know it's been brought up in the past. But especially looking forward into snow removal for the transfer station.
Hold on, just let's do that under, we've got transfer station on here, so let's bring that up. Then,
Okay,
you went to class?
Yes, yesterday I went to a road maintenance class. There's a lot of different and new ideas out there for salt and sand and then brines and things like that. Most of which I learned there was mainly for coastal and areas that the temperature fluctuated throughout the winter, not necessarily affects us too much. But it was still a lot of good information, made a lot of good contacts with a lot of the Conservation Commission people and another DPW director in Alton. Currently going on in DPW, we have 1 manhole left that should be done by Friday. And because our 2 people will be going to class tomorrow for a culvert certification. Thank you. Do you see my hand move? So that'll be going on tomorrow for them, so that way they can start working on a culvert that we are working towards getting a grant for.
FEMA requires trained people to do the work, so we have to go to the training.
And that
Okay.
basically involves like knowing what circumference it needs to be.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
angle.
There's a lot of things.
Angles,
Yeah.
Flow,
how to get the flow.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay. Good. And how's everybody doing in DPW? Everyone holding up okay?
They're holding up. Sickness seems to be going around. It's kind of taken through the shop right now, so. Jen is currently out, so there was an adjustment to our day-to-day
Mhm.
plan, but we're still trucking along.
Good. Okay. Any questions for DPW? Jim?
Hi.
What's happening? Hi, what's happening in public safety these days?
A whole bunch. Next week starts our annual host testing. So if you stop by, you'll see us out back. To get through the engines of the tower. Also, hose that's on there, we'll pressurize them and hope everything holds up, so we don't have to cover any new one. Weekly training's going well with the guys. We've been out pretty much a couple times a week, drafting and pumping, so they get more comfortable with that. Pat's been enjoying some vacation time over the last week and a half now. Word is Amanda's doing well down at the police academy.
She's doing
She
okay
healed,
with
did
the,
she?
with
Her,
the,
her foot was healed.
Her
So,
foot's healed.
yeah.
so she's still in the program,
She's
right?
still- She's
Great.
floating away and.
Good.
They like her so much down there that they're working with her to get through that.
So hope nobody tries to steal it.
I know, right?
Give a commitment to us after she finishes training, we just, by meeting her, we don't think that's. gonna be
Yeah, we don't
an issue.
think that that's an issue. It is something we covered during her interview
Mhm.
process.
We got directed patrol starting on the new pavement sections. Just, we've noticed some speed in that area with vehicles, so the guys are trying to target that a little more. To try to stop that before it becomes an issue ahead of time. Last week, Dave and I went out and pulled some data from the signboards. One of the things we did on that was we got the messaging to work again, so that it would say thank you and slow down. From June 3rd through August 18th, we saw that there was 68,576 vehicles by one of the boards. Results in around 900 vehicles per day.
That's at the III,
That's at.
the first one.
Yeah.
Coming into town.
And when you pare down through that data, it also shows that there's 99% compliance with speed.
Oh,
Once
wow.
they hit that board,
At that point, right?
so, which is a good sign.
Which is different than prior years.
Yeah.
Numbers. So the project, I think, has had a little bit of,
I
An
imagine
impact
so,
on that.
yeah.
so.
On Monday, we brought down Cruiser 1 to Ospey Mountain Electronics in Baltimore to start the process of
Mhm.
outfitting the new cruiser. Looking at a couple weeks before we'll see that new vehicle here. Which would be good. So right now, we're running one cruiser. We have the pickup truck as a backup.
It's nice to have a date for the new cruiser finally, right?
Yeah, they waited quite a bit of time for parts to come in.
Mhm.
Inspections have been going steady. We've had 15 since August 9th. We received 7 renovation permits over the last couple weeks. David sent out a cease and desist letter for Tea House Lane on a short-term rental that we had initially found out about through noise complaints. So that investigation resulted in a letter going out to the owner of the building, who in turn files for an application for short-term rental. We know of a couple others in town that we're working on investigating and sending out letters saying that they need to be permitted. So that's one of our targeted items at the time. We're starting the cycle of life safety on the commercial structures, so this gets to be the kind of busy season for inspections. This will involve all of Town Square,
and the mountain properties, so we gotta get all that done before the winter. On the 16th, the golf course is having fireworks for weddings. We just did the permit for that. And the mountain started the new ski patrol headquarters at the top. The old ski patrol headquarters at the top is gonna be torn down in the spring.
Mhm.
So if you're out skiing this year and you see the two buildings, it's just because of the timing. And then we found out the end of last week that before Jeff's retirement, Jeff was nominated by a bunch of former students for a Lifetime Educator Award at the state level, and he had won that award. So we're gonna be going down to Concord on September 17th to watch him receive that.
Nice. Yeah,
So
excellent.
that's my update. And you guys have any questions?
How's it going with EMS? Any call, anything unusual, normal level of calls?
It's normal for this time of year.
Okay,
So
same,
we'll take.
And we're still running well ahead of our annual.
right?
Yeah, we're up
Right.
to,
Well, we had hit that number a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So and we still have
well,
5 months to go.
Good.
Noise, okay? Nothing major?
major little complaints here and there that they're from.
Great. Okay, any questions for DPS? Let's see.
And
Yep, let's go to admin and then we'll go to the roads. Admin, you're up.
Thank you. I have been working primarily on our adjusted revenues that we'll review in a little bit.
Okay.
And in conjunction with that, looking at, I know it's August, but our town meeting timeline. There, I think one of the first dates that falls on that town meeting timeline is, I have 9/1 indicated for the date, the last date for us to submit our adjusted revenues to DRA via the 434. So that's kind of the first deadline, and then I'm trying to iron out budget meetings amongst department heads, and ultimately budget meetings amongst the board and the department heads, and follow that same cycle. So I should have that wrapped up by the end of next week and ready for our next board meeting for a draft version for you to review and check your calendars and make sure everything checks out there. But did you have any questions on the year-to-date financial statement that we provided in the packet?
I didn't.
No, I was fine with it, but I'm starting to maybe lose the bubble a little since we only see it once a month now.
okay,
I'm wondering if it would make sense to go back to
okay, we'll
Twice a month. What do you
figure out
guys
how
think?
to, we'll talk about that and figure out how we do that for the different times.
Right.
and- Yeah,
right.
so we'll work on that. If you want to see it twice, we'll figure out.
Now, what do you guys think?
It's up to you.
with once, but
You're okay with once? All right.
I guess I've only seen it once a month for the most
Yeah.
part, so.
Right,
well, I
well,
know.
we should
Okay.
do it mostly twice a month in the past,
Okay.
Okay.
and just give you a,
Yeah.
And maybe what we do
It's
for the last quarter.
well,
is
see, I'm
to
thinking,
do it
yeah, as we
as
get
go into
closer
the budget
to,
item. We'll-
and during
we'll
our
talk about it.
budget discussions, we're getting closer and the numbers,
Yeah.
the revenue and the expenditure numbers become
Okay.
more
Yeah.
salient
Mhm.
as we approach the end of the year. So maybe in that time frame, if it's not a lot of additional work, I know you guys are pressed being down one person.
Yeah.
So just something I wanted to throw out there.
Okay,
Yeah, makes sense.
look at it.
Anybody have any questions on the new color coded?
Yeah, so this is something that we need you to actually vote on today.
Okay.
Or plan to have a meeting next week if you want to talk in more detail about the lines. But you have, as Steve said, the
434?
green items are where the adjustment is up from what we projected. So the 2023 budget column is what we have in the town report. and what we told town meeting our other than tax revenues would be
Okay,
for each of the indicated areas. So the green is where we've increased those numbers. The orange cells are where we have decreased the number.
In which the blue,
The blue is the
Totals.
total for
Okay.
that area. Yeah. And the net effect, just for the public, is that with all of the pluses and minuses on these lines, the total revenue other than tax revenue is going to be increased by $50,809. That represents about a dime on the tax rate
50
for town
50,000 plus from our projection in
from our
March,
projection in mind.
what our revenues were going
That's
to
right.
to be.
And that's primarily because of unanticipated revenues that we received.
Grafton County did a
Grafton County,
$40,000
Yeah.
ARPA disbursement.
Yeah.
I think they had a pool of $1 million to disperse amongst the communities in the county. And I believe we coded it right now to miscellaneous revenues, and I don't think there are any restrictions that I'm aware of on
There
how
are
to
not.
spend those money, so that was a nice.
yep, so that can go to fund balance. We have $60,000 increase in the payments in lieu of taxes, $3,000 in penalties and interest on tax payments over what we had originally budgeted. The grants are not included in that $50,000, so you can skip
Right.
over that.
Right.
Ambulance fees are up 35,000. Our rec department had adjustments down primarily because of the weather and the factors we talked about with the boats. And then we have $13,400 in additional interest over what we had projected, and the money that Steve alluded to in miscellaneous revenues from the county ARPA.
what's the status on post office, getting more money from the post office? Was this?
Hasn't been going well. Bob.
We had to lower what we projected at town meeting. There were some
I can
personnel,
see,
yeah.
So Tony's been actively trying to get a hold of the people that she needs to get a hold of within the CPU to have the rate adjustment take effect, and she's been encountering a lot of revolving doors, so she makes a contact with someone, promises are made. Weeks go by, she looks for an update, that person's been repositioned within the USPS. It's happened to her, I think, 3 times now. So it's been a battle, but she's still trying to plug away.
Prior to this year where we upped our projection in the anticipation of getting the increased payment, what was the payment we were getting?
30,000 per
30.
year.
And that's what we've got. That's
Been
what,
there for
Right.
15 years.
so, and that's why we were anticipating 60, right?
That's what we requested through the
So that's the $30,000 negative.
So do we have to request through Campton?
Yeah, so every 2 years, we're eligible for a rate increase, and there's an application that you fill out and you provide justification and some budgetary information to them to justify the increase that you're requesting. And we hadn't been doing that, and I realized we could, so we provided the application through Campton early on this year in hopes that they could channel it through the proper channels, and they haven't been able to do that, so we've been trying to find those channels ourselves, and Tony, being from the postal service, has those numbers that you need. They're headquartered out of Portland, and now they're putting us to DC. So it's been an annoying process.
And we had requested increases in the past, but the Campton postmaster has to sign off on it and never would in the past.
But that's not the case
But that's not the case.
now.
A lot more cooperation at the local level, but still nothing at the national level.
Any other avenues we can take at the state or national level to help break this loose? Be
It's
a
a-
representative.
It's a part of the bureaucracy. I mean, the places we're looking are with the decision makers. That are, if we're gonna get any additional, if we can keep them in place long enough to say yes and sign a piece of paper.
So this may or may not happen this year, but we're
May
gonna
or may not
pursue it
happen,
again,
we're gonna continue to
pursue
pursue
it
it. Yeah.
for the next budget
Yeah.
cycle. So this really is all meant for us to be able to sign a form, right? We're not really discussing
Right,
the ins and
it's-
outs of revenues or expenditures. These are the numbers that are gonna
This is
go on the
just
four
the
thirty-four
revenue side.
revenue side.
The 434 is
Right.
just a form that we fill out every year.
Right,
That says, okay, we projected this back at the beginning of the year.
right,
We're adjusting it to this, and then you get to adjust it again
right.
at tax
Tax
rate
rate setting
setting
time.
in October.
Okay.
So.
What happened with
you'll
the
get-
TV franchise fee? I mean, that's a big win.
It's based on their. Well, we're not adjusting that from what we. The cable TV franchise agreement's still at 23.
Oh, I'm looking at the one above it.
Yeah, the
Mis-
one
town
above it
miscellaneous
is the
revenue.
one above it is the ARPA money from the county.
Right.
Okay. All right, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line.
No, that's okay.
All right, is there a motion you need and
Yes, if you could accept the changes as presented on these sheets, we'll complete the 434 and submit it by September 1st.
okay, I will move to accept the changes on the 2023 projected revenue sheets provided us by town staff. Dated 9/1/23 or
Second,
4/9/1/23.
second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good to go. Thank you, Steve.
thank you. Anything else in admin?
Not at this time,
I'm sorry,
not at this time.
okey doke. He's still weathering the shorthandedness.
Mhm.
This point, okay. And I think that brings us to,
Schedule.
no, roads, or is
Oh,
that,
you wanna, it's another agenda.
we have
item,
it down
but
to
you can
bottom?
Do it now
Nope,
and
nope.
Bill
let's,
could leave.
let us,
Let's do it.
Yeah, do
let
it.
us do it.
Right now.
all right,
I want to stick around for the field trip.
Oh, yeah, well, that's right. We're gonna,
All right,
we are gonna
so-
walk around potentially.
all right, let's move
you want
along
to.
then. So, we did other department head reports, financial, reports, calendar review.
Calendar review.
I have a request. It didn't occur to me until I paid attention to the school board calendar that we will be meeting on the same day. The third Thursday of the month is the same day that the school board meets. They meet at 4 and we meet at 3. I found it very useful to attend those school board meetings. So I'm wondering if we can flip the 3 and 5, starting at 3 or 5. Go, in other words, do 3 o'clock on the first Thursday of the month for select board meetings. And on the third Thursday, make it 5 o'clock, because if they start at 4, that'll at least give me 45 minutes to attend the school board meeting. I found it useful to hear what's going on with the school. Does it matter 3 or 5 o'clock on either of those?
Not to me.
I'm fine either way.
Okay, so do we want to therefore again change? I forget how many changes. So our next regular meeting will be at 3 PM on September
3 PM on,
7th. Now that works with, and then they'll get the full staff reports and everything.
okay.
And
So
then,
it'll now be the
Are we
first,
attending the first or the?
you're
third
attending the
Thursday?
first Thursday now instead of the third.
Just
So the
wanna
third one is
Yeah.
September, what?
the third one will be September
21st,
21st at 5 PM.
5 PM.
So that will be the cycle. All right, so our next meeting is September 7th at 3 PM here.
Yep,
Got it.
Okay.
we can do that.
All right.
Right.
Again, sorry, I didn't catch that. Didn't catch that earlier. And the
next
planning board is on the 14th. Have we, by the way, gotten an application in?
Oh, yeah, why did I do the 10th? Sorry, about that 14th. They have until tomorrow to
Right.
submit.
Still have.
We have not gotten it
Okay.
yet.
Who's that?
The developer Daily Corporation for the Golden Heights development,
It's an amended
amended site
site
plan.
plan
Yeah.
that. Per our regulation, they have to provide 21 days before the planning board meeting, so that's August 24th.
Yep.
Okay, nothing else as far as meetings then?
Nope.
New business.
So you have two pieces of new business.
Mhm.
The first one is the town investment policy, which was prior. Has been adopted prior to this and revised. It was adopted in 2008, revised in 2009. There is a requirement that we do that annually. That the auditor pointed out to us, and so Steve has gone through, made sure that the copy that you have in your packet is compliant with all of the financial reporting requirements. And we're asking the board to re-adopt the policy.
Why do I think we did this already?
No, you did the fund balance
Oh.
or you did the fund balance ordinance policy, sorry.
So is
Policy.
this, any
This is-
changes to this?
No. We did not make any changes to this. We just made it align with GASB, which it did before.
Hmm.
We took out, there was a specific requirement for the investment vehicles to be at certain banks. We removed that to give the treasurer flexibility to put it in different places. You can look at it, you don't have to adopt it right now. If you want to continue to look at it and do it at the meeting, the first meeting in September, that's fine.
I've read.
As
through it.
well.
You guys read through it? I've read through it.
I've read through it.
Mhm.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, as far as I know, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
It's-
there is a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah,
just
there's reading and
technical
reading, right.
meeting the
Yeah.
requirements, right,
Right.
Steve? I mean, do you have
just
any?
The one other piece that we made sure that we included was additional verbiage on internal controls, and as well as you notice
Right.
the RSAs that are appendix.
Yes,
So
Yeah.
make sure that we have those appropriate RSAs built into the
Right.
policy.
I mean, this is the result of our new
Auditor.
auditor saying we should do this.
Yep.
This isn't an in-depth discussion of investment policy, it's just our annual readoption of our investment
And-
policy as it stands now.
And to incorporate any new GASB rules that.
Or-
that
right,
might be
update it.
appropriate.
And
But
so
those are
what we will
technical.
do now is have on the tickler file, the first meeting in June. Will re-adopt the policy every year.
Right,
So,
Do you need us to sign it?
we don't,
I think there is a city.
yeah, do you have a hard copy of, because I got holes in my notebook.
okay,
You can get it and just have a vote, just so you're on the record as accepting
okay,
it
so I'll
as
make the
presented.
motion to re-adopt the town investment policy. Which includes the technical changes that are required to keep it up to date, right?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
And then the second policy is the town credit card policy. We have never had a written policy. The auditor
Mhm.
recommends that we do. We reviewed other town policies, and we feel that what we've put in front of you will meet the requirements and the notification or the notices that they made during the annual audit
Mhm.
to just for spending controls via the credit cards. So this is a new policy for us.
Anyone have any?
No,
Comments or questions about
I
it?
went back over it again and basically I wanted to make sure that somebody was putting down what department it was going to, what account.
Yep.
In what department.
Yep.
And I went back and found that, so I'm okay with that.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to institute and sign a town credit card policy, to adopt such a policy.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
I,
Should say as presented to us
Right.
at the meeting.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Shall we move on to old business then? Water project update. I think you pretty much, well, no, there are a couple other things.
We have the generator startup on.
Yep.
August 31st. The final walkthrough is gonna be pushed back a little bit because there was an emergency on one of the subcontracting ends, so. But once the generator's online, pretty much everything else inside is well free. Getting its final blessing and being online, that's the only other thing that's the gas from the completion of the project. Everything else has been completed to date. So that'll be the one final milestone, and then we'll go into substantial completion and get this closed out.
Mhm.
So
So when do you think we'll have well 3 online?
I'm not picking a date anymore until we're done.
But that is the objective of all of it.
That is the objective.
That is what the
So
goal is
hopefully
to-
The first week of September, we will be running.
Right. So all 3 wells will be
All
connected
3
to,
wells will be
treated through the
connected
water treatment facility.
on the generator and
Right.
everything.
Not that we operate all 3 at the same time, right?
No.
You only do
Right,
2,
one or two,
1 or 2
depending on.
on the season,
need.
yeah. Okay, while I have you, wastewater project update.
I had a brief conversation with all the firms that had been in discussion with.
Mhm.
And they had a pre-interview meetings with today. It was just a question based off of our RFQ that I had answered, and it was
Mhm.
good because I was able to reach out to them and have a small discussion around
Mm-hmm.
their continued interest, make sure, and it seems like all the firms that we had
Good,
met with are all
Yeah.
Going to submit.
right, so we got a couple weeks,
That's
Right,
due
still a couple weeks
September-
left,
That's
roughly.
due September 6th.
Yeah.
right,
So that, and
yeah,
that-
2 weeks
Mhm.
from
2
yesterday,
weeks from today.
today,
Mhm.
and
today,
that lines
okay,
up pretty well too, depending on how and what method the board wants to utilize to go through that.
Yeah, so my plan was, we'll get the RFQ responses back.
Mhm.
We'll have the town clerk open that. We'll make sure that they comply with the requirements in the RFQ document.
Mhm.
And then there is a score sheet and a scoring process for the review. That we can talk about at the September 7th meeting. And then.
is that something we established or somebody else established the score?
It's a combination of input from us, but based on the state, what the state wants us to look at.
It's
In
like
the process.
criteria based.
There's criteria that they want us to be basing the decision on.
Mhm.
So we would then, everybody gets a packet. And you go through the packet, you come up with a score, and then we'll have a meeting. And from that combined score, we'll choose how many of the firms we want to interview. And then
So then is it subjective after
Based-
that?
based on those interviews, we'll rank order them. There are questions that are gonna be common questions for everybody. We'll have notes that we make, and the board will vote on who the first candidate, second candidate, third candidate, however many you interview. And then we'll go to the initial or the top firm, and then we'll ask them for the price. To do a proposal from them to do the work that we lay out.
And what's the time frame for all of that to be accomplished?
We want to do it as quickly as we
No,
can. Our goal
exactly.
would be to have everything done, the meetings done and everything before the end of September. Or by the end of September.
So if
So-
on 9/7, we receive
The
the
rate, say we
RFQs
get 3 or 4.
and
yeah,
we have our little.
Take a
whatever
week.
Score sheet, and we all go home and, I mean, like the following
3 or
week.
4 days, yeah, get
Okay.
together the following week sometime that's.
And then,
available
and then
to
if we don't like the price that they give us, can we move to the second one?
We're supposed to negotiate with them, but if you can't reach a negotiated number. Then we'll contact DES and talk to them.
Oh. You can't just,
Because there's some sticking points along with that. My understanding is that once you walk away, you can't go back.
So we gotta talk to DES about that if we have a problem with the number. And the reason that they do that is to try to ensure that the most qualified firm is doing the work.
sure,
They want I don't want to say that the amount doesn't matter because it does. And they understand that. I mean, we are talking.
Right, but that's not
very
their
large
primary
number.
consideration.
But the primary consideration that they want us working on is the qualifications.
right,
So,
So on the 7th of September, our next meeting.
Yep.
Now at 3 o'clock, we will be,
reviewing
Reviewing
the packets that
packets.
we received back.
can we get them as they're received in the office? Do we have
No,
to
we gotta wait, and they have
Okay.
until 2 PM on the 6th to get us. The packets,
Right,
and we open them all at the same time,
right,
and we make sure that they are complete.
okay,
And then we could give them to you we can take them around and give them to you that evening, or you can stop by and pick them up.
okay,
But,
just to get a little jump.
you
on
know,
the
yeah,
process.
whatever, however you
Mhm.
want to do it.
They're gonna be pretty.
technical.
There's
yeah,
gonna be,
They can be 40 pages.
yeah, they're gonna be up to 40 pages. Each one
Yeah.
can be up to 40 pages long.
But just to have time to even
Yep,
read through.
to just
one of them,
look
Just to
through.
know what
Mhm.
questions
Yeah.
we
Sure.
need
Exactly.
clarified.
The only other thing that I would mention is that based upon, the timeline that we just discussed, we're gonna have to figure out a date to have the interviews with them as well.
Sure.
Yeah,
And we want to
right.
give them some notice as well, so that way.
Yeah.
Depending on who they're gonna have be present for the interviews, they'll have to arrange that in-house as well, so.
Okay,
Well, that's good.
all right. Big decisions coming.
Yeah.
Coming our way. All right, so anything else on wastewater or just, that's it, at the moment?
Yeah.
Okay. Road project update. Dar,
Okay.
Oh, you got something else?
Well, no, I just want to make sure that this is the last thing, because I'd like to, you guys are all set. I don't think rec or public
Do the
safety have
transfer station
anything.
next.
Yeah, let's
You
do
wanna
the
do the
transfer station
next?
first,
Okay.
because I'd like to have the road be the last thing so that we can go out to
Understood.
the sites.
Yep,
and
okay.
look.
So, sorry, Bill.
Keep stringing you along.
I'm here as long as you need me.
Yeah,
So the selectmen ordinances number 20 and 21, we've reviewed them. I sat down with Dave and went through enforcement of the new transfer station site. The wording that is in the ordinances allows us to enforce the
mhm,
closed periods and the hours of operation, and if.
So no
if we
changes
have-
needed in
No
current-
changes are needed to the current ordinances.
okay.
So there was a question in one of our previous discussions about what the fines would be. They would be the fines as laid out in the current ordinances for violations of the transfer station operations.
Okay,
So if someone dumps a bag at the closed gate, that'll be under ordinance 20,
Okay.
etc. So I don't know if you have any questions about that.
Well, ordinance 21 has first offense, second offense, third offense.
Yeah.
Whereas ordinance 20 just said not to exceed $500.
And
So it leaves it pretty much open to,
it does. It
so
does.
who decides that it's $100 or $500?
Um,
I think it might be better to have a similar kind of scale.
and we can do that. The only way it can be modified though is at town meeting. So in the interim between now and March, we'll leave it with the wording. We
So
have to leave it.
So
with the
these are
word-
existing ordinances?
These are existing ordinances.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so that's a good point. We can do a scale. And we can make it exactly the same scale if you want, or we can use different numbers. We can talk about that during the budget time as we're getting warrant articles drawn up for the 2024 town meeting. But that would be the time when we could do the change.
I mean, it just strikes me as excessive.
Yeah.
If somebody leaves
Yeah.
a bag of trash
Yeah, no,
outside the
and-
fence, and
and-
it's $500 on the first offense, that sounds pretty.
Well, yeah, and it was a discretionary, it is a discretionary thing, and we have gone out of our way to give warnings.
I mean, if it's
To people.
discretionary, based on ordinance
Mhm.
20. Can't we?
Use the same
Robert,
scale.
Can't we just sort of say
Mhm.
that we're gonna follow
Sure.
the guidelines on 21?
We can, because they all fit within the up to $500, so if.
I mean, I just don't want to put Dave on the spot or somebody
no,
on the spot
no.
that, that they end up being a bad guy.
Right. So we can just have Dave and Patrick, that can be the instructions.
Yeah,
To
Modify,
to the public safety department to just utilize the same scale
same scale, and then we can
and
catch
then
up
we
on.
can modify the
at town
ordinance
meeting.
at town meeting. Okay. That'll work. All right.
Fee schedule?
So the fee schedule, there's no change planned. I mean, I think you put that out. I just wanted to make sure that got mentioned one more time at the public meeting. So and we are going to have commercial entities can come here on their different colored
Mhm.
permit, and they can dump into the household solid waste
Right,
dumpsters, but they would be charged the same thing as if they were dumping into.
right, a commercial, the
the-
commercial rate as opposed to a residential.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, but it'll be the quarter of a pickup truck,
Right.
half of a pickup truck, whatever they have.
Right, as we.
With
handle
the household
commercials.
waste
Right,
going into the dumpsters, they're going to get a bill for that. And that's because the commercial entities are being charged a fee, the tipping fee
right,
for their
around
dumpsters.
towns.
Have you had communications with the commercial entities about that?
I have not talked to them
Okay.
yet. I take that back. I mentioned it to Tim,
Okay,
but I have not contacted everyone.
okay,
We will make sure that is highlighted in the information sheet that goes out to them. It shouldn't, I don't anticipate, there was one commercial operator that mentioned it to the board
yeah,
before,
Mhm.
and trying to figure out a different time for them to bring it in and all of these other things, or having to make adjustments out in the dumpster enclosures themselves,
mhm,
just got very complicated. Whereas we already have a fee structure
sure.
for the amount of material they're bringing in. It seemed to be a fairness thing that
Mhm.
as long as they're paying something, because they pay to have their dumpsters tipped,
Mhm,
that I don't think that this will be particularly onerous
okay,
to anybody. But if there are comments
Mhm.
back, we'll make sure that they come back to you.
I mean, Jennifer's gonna have to make some discretionary, some on the spot decisions.
yeah.
Yes, she will.
You bring up something that,
I talked with her already on that, she's aware, and me and her will work closely the first few weeks to make sure that things are in line with what we are discussing here as well.
Okay.
And
And I suppose if the town office is open and somebody shows up that doesn't have a sticker. She can
They can
say,
come up.
hey,
yep, absolutely.
it's open, right?
There will be a sign on the building that she'll be in that says you have to have a sticker in order to enter and dump here. And she understands that if they don't have one, we will direct them to town hall.
And so anything else on the fees? And oh, and we are okay with free for the first sticker. $5. Do we want to do 5, 10? How, I would not go above probably 3 stickers of property. Because we're gonna have too many out there
So you say
around.
$5 for the second
$5
sticker.
or $5 for the
Residential?
second, huh,
For
for residential,
Okay.
yeah. Commercial, any
Mhm.
preferences?
I think you do 10, but
Yeah.
Okay,
Do 10 for residential? Or,
for your second sticker.
yeah, for your second
I
sticker,
mean, that's not a lot of money.
Yeah. okay. We'll go with 10 for the second sticker residential.
Right. I mean, this is not a money generating,
No,
a
it's not a money
revenue,
generating.
it's covering the costs of the,
Well, and it's also a control kind of a thing in
Right.
that we don't want too many
right.
stickers out there.
right,
Because they can end up in different places, so.
Yeah.
But I think that sending them a free one with a note that says if you want a second one,
$10.
you can request it, it'll be $10. And then on the commercials, they're going to need multiple stickers, like a property management company.
Right.
I didn't,
mhm,
I don't think that there's a need on the commercial side. If they have
If you're having them
vehicles,
pay each time.
Exactly.
yeah, if you're having them pay each time they come in, it really is irrelevant
Yeah.
to how many stickers they have. I know that Valley Property Management, Valley Run Property Management has
mhm.
5 or 6 vehicles
Right.
at least.
But
Right.
So
think
are you
however
guys
many they
okay with not
Yeah.
having any fee for that?
Have you responded to Andy Knight's,
I have not.
shouldn't we though?
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's only go to YouTube and watch the public hearing.
Yeah, I do want to talk to you about that.
Mhm. So a couple things, I think one of the weak points of our system is hours that we're open. It's not so much days, but hours.
Mhm.
And I think we're just gonna we only have one person. And as you guys know, I'm not very comfortable with 3 days with just one person. I don't think there's any flexibility in that. So I think we may be pressed at times to keep that promise of being open 3 days during a week, even at those hours. But I think with regard to hours, I think this becomes part of our discussion for next year's budget. I think we're looking at adding one full-time and one part-time. We deferred that discussion for the larger plan that I think the town staff have put together with regard to running the transfer station. It's my understanding, second point, that there is not possible for the town to recommend to any resident or any authorized user of the transfer facility to, if the hours, they can't make it on what hours we have, that we direct them someplace else. I don't think that's allowed by the state.
Right.
So I would just leave it at that. It can't be part of the policy. And the third point I'd make on fairness, that's a difficult argument. And the question of fairness. You look at our water bills, you look at our sewer bills, and there are a lot of property owners who get charged the same amount of money for water and sewer who are not full-time residents. I don't think we want to go down the path of trying to determine what's fair. We'll intrude into that concept, I think. In other words, I'm saying, if we did water bills on the basis of water usage, residents would be overwhelmed with the bill they would get. Right? But we residents pay the same for water usage as taxpayers that don't live here. So I think we just have to be careful with the fairness. And I understand residents are a different class of people, and that they're voters, but I think we just have to be very careful with claiming that it's unfair for folks in town not to have the same access to dumpsters.
Well, and we did ask the state, we
tried to find a solution.
Dumpster.
Right,
We were willing to find places like out at River Road and up at Moose Run. We wanted to find areas to put dumpsters for the single family homeowners, but we weren't allowed to do it. So.
right, I welcome your guys' comments, of course, but I think this is just the start, right? Let's
Well,
roll it out.
The
And
condominium project would also, they get paid, get charged tip fees, and that goes into their calculation of their monthly assessment.
No, they do not get charged a tipping fee. Everybody pays a flat $60 per quarter.
Oh, okay.
all taxpayers.
All taxpayers, all
Okay.
property owners. Okay, everybody pays that flat rate.
So every individual condominium in a complex pays the $60.
That's correct.
Right.
Yep,
So for example, I have 2 properties in Waterville Valley. I got 2 separate bills,
correct.
and they're both the same.
So what about the dumpsters in the town square?
Those commercials get charged by the tip.
Okay,
And so we can't, well, it's against the state regulations, plus we don't want to encourage people to go to the commercials because the commercials are paying by the tip. So they should not do that.
Right.
But we cannot encourage somebody from Moose Run to go over to a neighboring condo development and drop their trash off because that's against the regulation. It
Right.
wasn't generated there.
It's not.
So it's not allowed. So I can call and talk to Andy.
Yeah, sure.
And explain that to him, but it's really, like Rich said, it's a hard distinction to make for people to understand, but we did ask for the ability to do that, and which would have eliminated this transfer station issue
Right.
that we're having right
Completely.
now,
Yeah.
completely. So,
and of course, if the town at town meeting wants to vote for us to go out and find people to man this thing
Mhm.
7 days a
Sure.
week.
It is a question of
absolutely,
money.
that's up to them.
I think it's a
Absolutely.
question of money. That's
Yep.
what it really comes
Yep.
down to. That's
That's money and
the heart and-
ability
And the
to
ability
find
to get
anybody.
them,
which
that's
is
correct,
which
you're
is gonna
absolutely
be
right, Bob.
very difficult as well in the current
Yep.
climate. New Hampshire has the lowest unemployment in the United States, half the national rate. Yeah, I mean, I would just throw.
Well, and, yeah. go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, I would just ask people to consider that this is an initial step. We will be undoubtedly changing as we become more familiar with this. If we do get more personnel, we'll be able to increase hours potentially, or days. I mean, but that's a little bit more down the road.
Yeah.
But that's my big concern is the hours and the impact of having a closed, of having a controlled transfer station on nearby condo associations.
Right.
And we got to work out something for them, I think, in my mind. But I think they'll bear the brunt of people seeing this closed. Or they'll think to go there on the way out because it's on the way out.
Well, wouldn't that, on this ordinance, wouldn't that, if somebody went to the dump at Windsor Hill that
Yeah.
didn't live there, they'd be in
They'd be
violation?
in violation
would.
of that.
There would
Yeah,
be if someone
right.
catches them and
Right.
gets their license or whatever. I mean,
Right.
it's all a matter of.
Right, and we're not, we're not planning, obviously,
for that to happen.
to have a dumpster police patrol or
No.
anything like that, but if an association notes it to town,
To the Public
DPS.
Safety Department.
With Jennifer, I'm not suggesting we change it in the hours, but if we wanted to have one of those 3 days that were open. Different times.
It
This is
might
a-
be, it may be possible to do earlier, but later will be difficult for her.
Okay,
Well,
Particularly.
okay.
And I had suggested that a couple of meetings ago, and
Yeah.
there's a concern with the winter and the darkness and the lack of lighting.
Yeah, and the other thing is, we just have noticed because she's out today, out sick, it has taken another staff member. Off of what they were scheduled to do today to man the transfer station.
Right.
And we're down to 2 people who can replace her. Because we only have 3 trained. And it has to be somebody that's licensed by the state.
Right.
Because they're the only one.
We were lucky today because the trash truck was in the bay getting
Yeah,
worked on.
Didn't have to run today. So,
Can we just have everyone who works in DPW be licensed? Or, I mean, how hard is it to be certified to handle trash? Is it something that,
you have to go to the class and.
is
Yeah.
a day-long class,
Mhm.
right? I mean, is it worthwhile just getting everyone certified?
We will work towards that
I
goal,
mean,
yes.
Everybody being 6 people. I
yeah,
mean,
I
I just
mean,
want to
if
make
you have
it,
a bunch of
that's
people,
what,
would they come here?
Our other, employees though have different certifications
Yeah.
that counteract that certification.
Oh,
They
really?
Can't have both.
really? No,
What do they have?
I don't remember what it's called. I have to get you the name, but
that seems crazy.
unless you want to make everybody the exact same and have them all go through all of the certifications. But then that defeats the purpose of having your highway people and your solid waste people.
Yeah, let me, we'll check on that and
Right.
I'll get back to you, but it does, we are going with the Sunday. Opening,
Mhm.
one of the other 2 people is going to have to be on call every Sunday.
Mhm.
Because if Jen can't come in, they're gonna have to come in,
Right,
which
Right.
means we're gonna be paying them on that
Right.
Sunday
sure.
to be on call.
right,
Mm,
And it's not like the winter where it's just for a season, it's going to be year round.
Right,
And that's gonna affect, I mean, that will be the case. Whoever is the backup up above will also have to be
Yeah.
paid
Mm,
on the
Right.
weekends. And
Yeah.
we did set it up with public safety. Jennifer
Mhm.
talked to Dave today. We're gonna have public safety checking on that person because they will be here all alone on Sundays.
Right.
So every hour or
Mhm.
whatever, we're gonna try to get a.
I mean, we
public
have a,
safety
we have a
review.
whole
So
new,
there's a whole new, a bunch of, and we didn't even
Right.
think about the on-call pay until we realized today that somebody was gonna have
you
to
have
be
to
on
have
call
someone,
for
someone
Sunday.
to call, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're only talking 6 people and a department chief.
Yeah.
For everything.
Mhm.
And that is the issue, right? It's the issue of getting more people, which is gonna cost more money. That's why I'm very queasy about thinking we're gonna be able to do these 3 days a week, even at these small, shorter hours, but I think, we'll see how
try.
it goes, and I agree with you. I think there should be a day where we have hours either earlier or later for those folks who can't make that core 8:30 to 3. That makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
It would make a,
But I'd say let's
Yeah.
get started and
Yeah.
then
yeah,
reconnoiter.
right.
Yes,
Then hopefully we don't find bags of trash outside our house. And
yeah.
all right.
Was there anything
so
else on the-
The other thing is, as Megan mentioned, the other thing is the piece of equipment.
Mm,
We do feel that given the area that we have to cover, we are gonna need something other than the current plow trucks and the pusher plow on the backhoe
Okay.
or the sidewalk tractor. To,
But with the age of the sidewalk tractor itself, and we currently have the blower down for the sidewalk tractor. Jason's working diligently to get that blower up, but there is, you know, part constraint, it means from cannons and things like that, it takes a little time to get here, he is working diligently to get that back up. Currently, we wouldn't be able to run it if it started to snow tomorrow.
So basically, the information that we've given, that she just handed out to you today is intended for you guys to go back and look at it. I'd like to review it at the September meeting, first meeting, and then get you additional information if you need it for the second meeting. But I would like to try before the end of September to have a decision on the piece of equipment. The option open to us right now would be to, out of the bottom line of the budget, just the budget in total, to purchase outright. I know we have not done that in the past, and if we want to enter, the other option would be for a lease purchase program. The Board of Selectmen can enter up to a 1-year lease on a piece of equipment without town meeting approval of a lease. The lease document has to have a non-appropriation clause, and you have to submit it to the next available annual town meeting for approval of the lease. And then at that time, town meeting can either continue with the lease, or they can authorize enough money to pay for it outright. So in these cases, if we said, yes, we're going to get this piece of equipment so that we're ready for the 23-24 winter, I would propose that you do a lease for it and then bring it up in March and ask the town what they want to do.
Because what's in that quote right now is not only for snow operations, it's for year-round operations, for when we need to do things. So like when we had to rent the backhoe for the manholes and things like that, that's $4,000 a month that we could have saved if we had
The
this piece
attachment.
of equipment already. So.
So
in turn,
there's more to it, and I think it's a deeper conversation. I think
Okay,
these are
yeah.
just to show you amounts. I know there are large amounts, but there are different attachments that are on all of these vehicles. My thing in bringing it up right now today is that we do feel that we're going to be very limited in maintaining if we have large snowstorms. It could prevent us from being able to open for a period of time while we clean it up. Because in the current configuration, it's going to be very difficult to get around that in a timely manner.
There's a lot of information not in the quote, so if you have questions on anything, please let me know and I can go over a lot of the attachments and a lot of the things that specifically go into either CAT or Bobcat. We did have a third one. They have not gone back to me. It was a lot more than both of those that you have there currently, so.
And a skid steer loader is the best type of equipment for what you're looking to achieve.
It's a multi-purpose piece of equipment that we can put attachments on.
Okay.
And it's it also is the correct width. So
For the
we could potentially do away with the sidewalk tractor.
So we put a plow blade on it for doing the sidewalks.
Yes, you most definitely.
And it has
Yeah.
a snow blower attached.
And it has a snow blower attachment for down here. We really see that the snow blower is critical down here, only
Getting
because it's so
dumpsters,
condensed.
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot to talk about,
Yeah.
a lot to think about. I'm not asking for a decision right now, just need to bring that up. So,
We will discuss it more.
Okay.
Anything else on the transfer station? Anyone would like to bring up?
I have been working with the sign company.
Oh.
They just sent me proofs. some of the signs that they've already started working on, which are to include for the condo association dumpsters, saying that's for household waste only, and any C&D, anything like that, to come over to the transfer station. So we are in the works for those, different materials, but they're coming along, and the proofs are pretty good right now, and as soon as we get a quote, I'll be able to give it.
And the permit stickers are due back next week,
Mhm.
and we will get those in the mail.
No later than the 30th.
How about a video camera system?
I've also been working on that.
Mhm.
I already have 2 cameras that I actually need to put up. I unfortunately wasn't here yesterday to do it, and so I've been trying to get caught up, but the one to be able to see through the whole transfer station will be up tomorrow.
Okay.
So we're testing that, and good news from DES today.
That's a change.
I have a Teams meeting with the head of licensing and the head of compliance. There were a whole bunch of requirements that were thrown at us on Monday. And we went back to DES and said, we can't do this. These were requirements before we could put the lower transfer station into operation. So they are starting to back off of those requirements. And like I said, I have a meeting with the compliance and licensing heads tomorrow. But the indication today was that they're going to back off of those to help us get this up and running.
So these are new requirements, like what?
New forms that we had to fill out and
Okay.
changes that we had to make to forms that we had previously submitted.
They wanted
They wanted
duplication.
of effort on
upper
a
and
lot of
lower.
things. Yeah, they also a different department called Dylan yesterday and said that there were things that we had to do on the wastewater side before we started building the new transfer station, which we have the September 6th
Yeah,
bids due back.
yeah.
Yeah, so we made a quick phone call yesterday afternoon and we got that wastewater side backed off.
Okay.
So hopefully we can get solid waste backed off tomorrow, but
Okay.
we are working on it
Yikes.
there. So we haven't had to call the governor yet, but that's always an option. No, I'm joking, almost. Yeah, kinda.
Anything else on a transfer station? We're
Uh-uh.
charging
Bill.
ahead.
So Bill,
Yeah.
But before we get to Bill, because we want to, after Bill, we want to walk around
Walk around.
outside, right?
Mhm.
Can we just do the board concerns and directives
yes,
to get that
yeah.
out of the way?
Mhm.
Then we can just concentrate on Bill. Does anyone have anything, board concerns and directives? I have a couple things, but,
Well, I
Turn
could
it up to you
probably
guys.
respond to at least Andy.
Yeah, I'll call him.
I'm not sure that Ken Ackley is, I mean, he's just giving his opinion, so I'm not
Okay.
sure that,
mhm.
Yeah, I had a couple minor
Mhm.
things.
I'm okay. Triple I Road, I heard somebody requested, said that when I saw online, somebody was asking what the Forest Service were doing on Triple I Road.
Huh?
I don't know.
I just saw that on Facebook. Somebody asked what's going on Triple I Road with the Forest Service.
Okay,
Are we doing anything
no,
on Triple I, the bridge or anything?
we're in a holding pattern until Milwaukee decides what we can do.
Is
Unless
it-
it's the mountain.
Unless it's further up on Triple I?
have no
Didn't say
idea.
where.
I have no idea. I just saw the
Okay,
note. but-
we'll check.
Just a couple of little questions. Are we
Yep.
doing a continuation of that school board meeting? Because we had started it and then it was stopped and are we just done? So I thought there were an issue or two that we didn't address. Because
I mean, the next time we have a school board,
like the joint meeting.
the
that we
joint
had.
meeting, we talked about, I don't think did we set a
We did
date?
not
We had
set
said-
up a
we had
phone.
said
Right.
sometime in August, but
Oh, did we?
Is that where you're not, I remember it was sometime in August and because I think I had proposed the fall, but I think we landed on August, but it looks like it's gonna be in the fall.
Yeah,
Was
I
the outstanding issue is the use of the building still?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you want me to reach out to Mike and just find out?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, they talked about it a little at the school board meeting, last, Thursday.
Mhm.
And it wasn't a full-blown discussion. There was just a couple parts. A couple issues dealing with, building use related to elections,
Okay.
but they didn't come to any decision. They just discussed it
Mhm.
further.
I'll
Look-
ask Mike, what do you want?
Yeah, they were looking towards at least initially investigating how we could modify school activities on the day of an election. So as to allow the town to use the gym during the day.
Okay.
But that it wasn't a decision-making meeting. It was just research, talking, yeah.
If I recall correctly, the past couple of years, we've been doing a meeting in June and then in November.
Yeah, that's what I was,
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was thinking, so.
Okay. And the other item, I know it's been talked about a couple of times, but I wasn't sure if the board had come to a consensus. Can we or should we ask for or have signage for no through trucks on Tecumseh? Is that a decision that we've made and we're gonna have signage
Oh.
there?
For what?
For,
No through
Tecumseh
No through-
Road,
no through truck.
trucks on
Tecumseh.
Tecumseh Road, just to help with the safety in the multi-use pathway there. It had been talked about a couple times at town core, and I thought we talked about it here, but I wasn't quite certain.
Yeah, I don't recall, is it something we
Okay.
talked
We
about
did
or,
talk about it, but you did not reach a, I mean,
Okay.
you did not make a decision.
Okay,
So it's, if we could put that on the agenda for the September 7th.
yeah, I was thinking to
meeting,
get Patrick and David.
And get Patrick and David to participate in
Made in
that.
that
Is
discussion.
that an
conversation.
issue? I mean, it seems
Well,
to me
the-
most of the delivery trucks must just keep
They
going.
go-
No,
all turn
they
there
all,
for
they
Town
do
Square.
go down
The
Tecumseh.
GPS redirects with them.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's gonna be an issue now that we have the multi-use path.
Especially at the intersection
on
with
the
Packard.
corner.
yeah.
Well, the corner and the intersection with Packard's.
Right,
Yeah.
So I think it would be a good idea if we could find out if public safety has any problems with it, because if we can keep them out on Valley Road, it's certainly the better road for them to be on.
Yeah.
I know it would save on the intersections with the turning radius, especially
Right.
of tractor trailers, if they get down there accidentally.
Yeah.
And I know
That's
they
a
go
tight
down there
turn,
quite a
yeah.
bit.
Oh,
And even the
Some-
larger
some
box
can be
trucks,
Put up in-house, so.
Yeah.
if
Right.
yeah,
like
it's an
that,
easy thing
Yeah.
to
right,
do.
it makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Yeah.
not knowing what
I want to
Patrick or
check,
David would say.
yeah, I want to check the statutory requirements,
Okay.
whether you have to have a public hearing or anything like that. I mean, the Board of Selectmen are the controlling body for the roads. So I know you have that authority. I just need to know the process that you would need to follow.
okay.
Yeah, good.
So,
Did you
Good
have
catch.
anything, Bob? Did you have any?
Very quickly, just wondering, do you have a status on the coalition issue? Do you want to talk about it next time we meet?
We
There's
can
been some
talk about, I mean,
there's been some
the
news
simple is
news
there's a
reports
couple of,
recently.
there's a couple of court cases.
Mhm.
But I'd rather just give you, I'll make it an agenda.
Okay,
item
that's
and
fine. I
give
just
you a
wanted to
full
see.
update. There's nothing immediate.
Okay, I was
today.
wondering because, as I
You're
said,
seeing
all
a
of a
lot in
sudden,
the
we're
paper.
seeing school,
The
we're
other
seeing
side.
news reports.
The other side is very aggressive in
I see.
putting information out there.
Yes,
It's
they do
not
seem,
always
right.
accurate,
okay,
but where
Yeah.
there's nothing immediate.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
okay, yeah, very good. Next time is good. I noticed, walking around, someone has put a little memorial plaque on a dying tree on Valley Road. You know, it's one of those plaques you put in the ground, you know, with the spike, and it has a
Yeah.
little, in memory of
Yeah.
our mother. I don't remember her name.
Okay,
It's, I don't think the town does strike a bell. It's there. So if you go down Valley, you go past the athletic club entrance right on your right, And on your left, before you get to the guardrail, it's there, down, you walk down a little bit and you see that someone stuck a memorial
Can you
plaque.
check on what that is,
Yeah,
please.
I'm surprised to see it.
It's across, I got it,
It's where the guardrail begins on the left side of the road as you go past the athletic club. It's right down the hill there, the little slope there, and the tree's dying, so it's kind of a strange place to
Okay, we'll
put
check
it.
it.
It's an old tree. I noticed there seems to be some road work on intersection of Packard and Valley. Is that anything to do with us? Right at that corner?
The road crew is working, that's
Okay.
our road crew.
Right, I was just wondering what was.
They're just shoring up the turning
Okay,
radius of. the-
yeah, it looked like it was a little bit of
Mhm.
substantial,
Mhm.
substantial effort, and I suppose, that's it. That's good enough. Okay, anything else? Roads?
Back to your question, Bob, Triple I is on a annual routine maintenance schedule. So not knowing for sure what they saw,
I don't know either.
and if they saw equipment, it would be the Forest Service doing their annual maintenance on the road. I met with the Forest Supervisor, or Forest Engineer today. Trying to get an update on the road agreement, and he didn't mention anything to me special, so I'm guessing it must be.
Okay. I don't know any more than that.
Routine maintenance, probably. So, roads. So I think since I was last here updating you, they completed the box reconstruction of Valley. Mostly without incident. We did run into some unsuitable material, about 3 truckloads worth that we hauled off. But that area adjacent to the bus stop, we think is another one of those underground rivers or whatever here in Waterville Valley. Because when we moved all the traffic over to the southbound lane, we started seeing water pumping up even below the 18 inches they had taken out.
Wow.
So we went back in, pulled out a foot. Brought HEB over, we all agreed that the best thing to do was put down some what's known as GeoWeb, which is a subsurface stabilizer material, fabric. And so they put in 250 feet in the southbound lane. Since then, we've been observing it closely, and it looks like it's doing its job. It firmed everything up. So the box is done, and as I think everybody has probably seen, the base course of asphalt is down and went pretty smoothly. Overall, only had a couple of irate citizens that we had to kind of chat with and make sure they understood the rules. But overall, everybody's been pretty pleasant dealing with traffic control and one-way traffic and everything. So right now, they probably saw them today. They're working on the shoulder gravel on Valley. And for the next week or so, they'll be finishing up all of the sidewalk crossings, the pedestrian crossings. Friday, weather permitting, they'll be putting in the steel plates with the little nubs at all of the pedestrian crossings. And then also the rest of next week, dealing with all of the driveway aprons that are going to need pavement as well. So the plan is to right now, second week of September, have everything done and put the top coat of asphalt on what's been paved so far, which should get everything that's done so far nearly at 100% completed. The guardrail got put in on Hillsbrook. Looks good. Only one incident there. They did, as they were drilling one hole for a guardrail post, they did pull up about 200 feet of coax cable, but thankfully it was no longer in service. So just one more new thing we found underground here in Waterville Valley. So
Not in any
but
chart or
nope,
plan or,
nope, not
No.
unmarked, totally unmarked by
Not found by
Dig
DigSafe either.
Not found by DigSafe either.
So,
So after the top coat, then do they move down to the other end of Snowsbrook?
so actually, as of right now, after that top coat, they're still wanting the other end of Snowsbrook to continue to. Hopefully, the water table will continue to go down. We're monitoring that one drain and it's still running a lot of water, so, but less than it was. So they're gonna move to do the project
Snows
up on
Mountain.
Snows Mountain. Get that done. And then also the public safety. Parking lot here and the entrance to the new temporary transfer station, get that done and then finish up the project. With the upper end of Snowsbrook.
Beginning on September 26th.
Okay, so
It's in the email from Patrick
Yeah.
Corsi in your packet. But there's two things on that, the top coat paving on Valley, Tecumseh and Snowsbrook,
Right.
as
that's-
well as the work on Snows Mountain Road
Right.
and here for the parking lots. They're requesting an extra early start
Right.
because we're starting to lose daylight on the end of the day. So they want to begin even earlier than 7 o'clock.
Just when they're doing that top coat?
The top coat and all the work on Snows Mountain and the work here, they would like to start at as close to 6 o'clock as they can.
Well, at a certain point, they're not gonna have much light then
Well,
either. I mean,
I know, and that's the reason
Yeah.
for.
And we're looking at
yes.
late September.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's about an hour's worth of getting ready to pave and, but they can do in the dark.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
If need be, so they'd like to have a little extra time so that asphalt can be going down right at 7.
right
o'clock.
at 7,
So is this only when they're putting the asphalt down?
when they're putting the asphalt down. Yeah, and this would be September 13th through the 25th. Would be the time frame to
But
get all of
But
that
just the
work.
days that they're putting the asphalt down.
No, it would be every day, all the work days from the 18th to the 25th. When they're up on Snows Mountain Road, they need that's includes reclaiming.
Let me verify that, Mark, because I think it.
Just the
may only
paving?
be the paving.
Okay, well, it doesn't, it says the
Yeah, I think that
reconstruction.
window is.
If it's just the paving days, I
If
think
it's
that's a
just the
lot
paving
easier
day,
than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then grinding up stuff on Snows Mountain.
Or someone who lives off of
but-
Snows Mountain Road, I wouldn't look forward to it, but I want to get them in and out.
Yeah.
yeah,
that's-
they only have 4 days of scheduled work time on Snows Mountain Road.
And I'm desperate to get
4 or
that
5.
finished.
No, I know.
It's pretty bad.
But if you're okay with the paving side, then can we tell them that it's a go for the paving?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, paving's fine.
Okay, and that takes us up to the 15th of September.
Right.
Okay, and then we'll come back to you.
If they
maybe at
want to do the
next meeting,
reclaiming,
If they want to
Oh,
do
yeah, so you're talking
Any
about the top
reconstruction.
coat paving.
the top coat paving.
right?
Yeah.
Yes,
So we'll let them start moving machinery around at 6.
because they're gonna talk
And-
about everything that's been done up to now.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, no, sooner the
They
better.
did that all in one day or 2 days?
No.
This day.
one day.
One day.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
And
Anything
so we
else?
can do the walk around now and talk, we'd like to show you the striping on
Okay.
site.
All right, so why don't we adjourn the meeting to the parking lot where
Parking lot first and then out to Valley Road.
out to Valley Road? Okay. well,